about today is how to actually build out your own Deep Dream on your Apple OSX box. What we're going to do is we're going to base a lot of this is on VISIONAI's Cloud Dream GitHub repository that kind of goes along with it. He's got a lot of neat stuff in here. There's a lot of things that you can do with Deep Dream. It's just kind of fun. It's a neat toy, but it's also really painful to try to push up. So one of the things that he really tries to get you to do is use a program called Boot to Docker, which actually is really kind of a neat kind of little program that can really kind of help you out in terms of how this works. So what you can kind of see is that when you get it into your applications, you're going to see a boot to Docker once you have it all downloaded and you have it installed, and it just basically starts up to kind of check and see where everything is and how it's all installed and everything else. So you can kind of just go from there and start working out. So basically, once it's all installed, it installs really quickly and really easily. Once you've got it, you can kind of track and see. They're going to want you to have this because that's going to be the IP address that it will actually bind to, and then the port number 2376. That's just for me, not kind of a big deal. But part of what this all goes along with, what he wants you to do is he wants you to go on ahead and turn around and then do what's called download the whole thing. So you can go Docker pull VISIONAI Cloud Dream, and what it does, it will actually go out to go check it and make sure that what you've got. And of course, I've already installed this, so it will basically say that it already exists. But once it's up and running, once you got it good, it will actually start and go and download everything. And then once you've got that done, once it's up and running, you can kind of see where you've downloaded it to. So I downloaded it here to Cloud Dream. So if I go into Cloud Dream, what I actually see then is everything that it gave me. So if I want to start this, I can just go start.sh, and then boom, I'm starting to run now, and we can kind of go along with it. So I did this in the wrong thing. You actually have to run it, start it in Docker when you get going on it, so that you can actually go ahead and do all the things that you want to do. So I need to go to here, and I need to go ls, find out where I'm at. I need to go into Cloud Dream. And then I need to go start.sh. And then you get your three little things that go up. And then once you've got that, it's actually running now. Part of what makes this really interesting when you kind of go along with it is if you bring in your applications, go to your Macintosh hard drive, go into users, go into your account, go into your VirtualBox VMs, wherever you dropped it off to, right? So you want to go into your desktop, your Dream, and then we're going to go ahead and turn this into a shell. You want to go into Deep Dream. You already started it here and go into Deep Dream. Now, how this thing works, right, is I've run a couple of these just to kind of see what we've got. This is basically everything that's in here, and because I'm not working on the web interface, because I don't really care if there's a web server attached to this, because this is just local to my box, and I want to kind of see what we've got in terms of how this works. What it does, it will continually scan this directory inputs, looking to see if it's already done a file. You can read the log file that goes along with it so that you can actually go ahead and then kind of track this thing out. So you can see if it's already processed certain images, if it's already done all the things that it needs to do for that. So you can actually see it's already processed this. You'll notice I put some numbers on the end of this to just kind of make this a little bit easier for me to deal with in terms of the things I was looking to do. And the reason for that, typing pwd cd Deep Dream. One of the things I wanted to do is that because it's reading that input file, is that I wanted to check and see what we kind of had going with it and how it was actually working in terms of all the things that I wanted it to do. So to kind of go back to this and go back to my Macintosh hard drive, and you see that I'm kind of like stumbling around a little bit. It's mostly because I wasn't really quite totally prepared to do this. That input, I've already tried it at a number of times, but one of the other things that's kind of interesting too, and this is something that they talk about in there, is what all these files do. So a lot of this stuff is based on actually having the web server set up. But one of the things you want to check out is the settings JSON file. When you first originally get it, you're going to see that its max width is 400, and it will usually take a couple of minutes to do stuff on this. I turned mine up to 1200 because I want much bigger images. I want to see it look like at 400. And when you kind of see it at 400, you can kind of see your images kind of teeny tiny, not all that great in terms of resolution and everything else. When you turn it up to 1200, you get this really nice, big, huge, usable image for what you are deep dreaming. If it processes it once, it will process it pretty much so the same way the second time, but you really can't see the details in this the way that you can see the details in the other one. And it does give you variations on a theme depending on how big you let your image become. So like on this one, I've got some birds here and I don't have those same birds there. This turns into one great big face where I get a number of smaller faces. So I definitely prefer the much bigger images to go along with it. The thing to remember though on that is that if you're making bigger images, one of the things to note is the time tax. Right, so if you're doing the regular ones, it only takes a couple of minutes to do, and it's a 29 kilobit file. But the more you start adding to that, the longer it takes, and the more memory it will take to do. So when I jacked mine up to 1200 for my max width, I actually got a pretty decent sized JPEG that I can work with and do other things with. But the problem is that it took 10 minutes for this thing to actually gel out, and this is on a computer with 32 gigs of RAM. So it's definitely not a super, it's a fairly robust box that I built these on. So your times may vary, but on a 32 gig RAM box, it took 10 minutes to generate that bigger image. So you can pretty much so figure you're going to be adding time, almost doubling time for every 200 that you bring up your settings JSON file for the max width. Right, and that's a real big thing to kind of think about, is how much time do you want to give it. If you're going to run this as a web server and you're going to feed the public, keep it at 400 because no one's really going to care. But if you're going to plan on using these for something else that's going on, then you definitely want to make sure that you've got this thing up and running the way that you want it to run. And sorry about that. So you definitely want to make sure that you've got all this stuff running. But in the meantime, though, it does make some pretty interesting images. They're just pretty teeny tiny. Some of them can look kind of weird, a little bit gruesome along the way, but some of them can look a little bit interesting. So I basically used some people and some car show imagery to kind of go along with it. So, you know, these are just my own images kind of taken for what it's worth. But it is kind of neat to just build a thing, and it's like super, super easy to do this just by going ahead and doing that download to the boot to locker download, and then going ahead and bringing it up, and then going ahead and doing start. And when you're ready to stop it, you just kind of want to just go ahead and go stop.sh, and boom. You're going to get an error in here, which I think is kind of interesting. But outside of that, though, that is all there is to building out this whole Deep Dream Google thing using VISIONAI's Cloud Dream GitHub. So it is really kind of neat just to kind of go along with it. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Sorry about all the pop-ups and the noise in the background, but take it easy and have a great day. Bye.